But we have another exciting panel that's coming up that I get to moderate with some friends that I've made over the past couple weeks as we've been planning for this session. So I would like to invite my panelists up, and we'll do introductions once you guys are up. Hey, John, what's going on, man? Welcome your panelists to the stage, guys. I'll let them do introductions once we grab seats. Round of applause, please. Come on, let's keep the energy up. Let's go here. See, I think there's one more chair over there. Yeah, move it on over there. There we go. There we go. All right. It's like a game of musical chairs when you're doing panel things right after keynotes.
Candace, come down a bit more.
Good.
That good? Okay. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Great.
Excited to be here?
Very much so.
Awesome. So we're going to be digging into some really fun topics around AI. I know we were talking about quite a bit when we were prepping for this panel. But before we get into that, we'd just love for you guys just to go down the line real quick, introduce yourselves, and then we'll kind of kick into some of these questions and get into the meat of it. Sound good? Let's start here.
Yeah, I picked the hot seat. Candace Kerr, Director of Digital Strategy and Transformation at Unum. We're a B2B insurance company, primarily focused on products with an AI or generative AI component and getting us to scale with our customers.
I'm Matt Leslie. I'm at JP Morgan Asset Management. I'm head of digital product. We run a product shop, basically, where we drive all client digital experiences. And over the last, I would say, 6 to 9 months, have focused pretty intently on our AI strategy.
I'm Samantha Mansfield. It's nice to see you all. I'm the principal of user experience strategy and design at Chartis. We work with lots of financial clients. Shout out to Michelle, our wonderful Cambridge Associates client who's here today. But we help institutions with their digital marketing experience strategy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Lucas. I'm in from Boston. I work at State Street. And I actually, as of 2 days ago, I'm now the head of marketing for North America, as well as our global clients division. So excited to be here.
And I'm John Renz. I am the head of creative. I run the internal ad agency at Prudential, with a primary focus on supporting all of the go-to-market and advertising initiatives for our U.S. businesses.
So we're talking about optimization, scaling, customer journey improvements, kind of a lot in this panel discussion here. But one of the first questions I think that we can kind of dig into is how AI is impacting output specifically and maintaining quality, because I think all of us are really concerned about quality control. We saw a great example of kind of how that could happen in the last session there, having someone responsible for it, having a platform that maintains our brand standards, but each company's going to kind of handle that differently. So actually, John, I'm going to kick it over to you first to kind of talk about that, especially since you handle a lot of the brand-related stuff. Mm-hmm. So from the quality maintenance perspective, what is your take on that?
Okay, so I think we heard in the last section, Jacqueline said, I think she spoke to the person, right, who's attached. People are key to using AI. So we don't let AI just run rampant. Obviously, as a financial services firm, we have to have certain quality control standards in place, compliance and risk and things like that. But even from a design and copy standpoint, we keep those people in place, because there's too much risk attached to AI. If you think from a design standpoint, folks love to talk about all of the great image generation qualities of AI, which is great until you create a person with 4 hands and 16 fingers. And you need designers and you need people with the right eye to understand that. And if you're generating copy, you need someone to gauge the quality of that copy, certainly not my phrase, but it's, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So there's something to be said with making sure that people are playing the right roles when you're touching AI.
Yeah, that's great. Matt, let me kick that same question over to you.
Yeah, I mean, very similar, and what the previous session said as well. I think the human in the middle element at the moment is still really, really important. With that said, we have an eye on the next 2, 3, 5 years, and I think it's important for us to understand how what is this world where the human may not be in the middle, right? What are the AI capabilities that would go straight to clients? Because digital is all about scale, and we would constrain ourselves if every single thing had to go through human review. So we actually went and developed a small feature, but it is client-facing. It is live today in one of our digital tools, one of our portfolio construction tools. It took us 9 months. It's a very small use case, but we felt it was important to test what would be that process of going through controls and going through build and through technology and user experience, and to get something actually deployed on the website. And I think it's building a certain type of muscle. In product development, usually you have one input and a predictable output, and with AI, it's completely different. You have one input and you have no control over the output. So we went through the painstaking work of working with our controls partners, and we are live today with that one small feature on the website, which I think has taught us enormously about the difficulties and also the opportunities of developing AI without a human in the middle. And so, it is phase one of, I think, a pretty long journey, but we're quite excited to have something available now.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in phase one, despite it being almost two years now, right? But because it's moving so fast, I feel like you get one step ahead and then 2 steps behind, and we have to constantly be playing catch up. Ladies, anyone else on the panel would like to kind of talk about the compliance, the roles that are maybe changing, and how we keep this stuff under control? Anyone?
Yeah, happy to. So one of the things that we often talk about with our clients, if they're still not ready to invest in AI, is to start having a policy around it. Mm-hmm. Because whether you're using it or not, it's akin to back in the early days of social media when brands were a little bit hesitant to go on to social media. Well, your customers are already there creating a narrative. Your employees are already likely using AI tools, whether that's ChatGPT or others, potentially to do work for you. So we always advise setting up an AI oversight committee, a task force, and making sure that's cross-functional, right? Because you do want, certainly you want the legal policy side involved, but you also want your technical team involved, your marketing team, your user experience team, because it really is going to impact across that cross-functional spectrum. So that's something that we always advise, because when you are then ready to invest in AI, you've kind of already, to your point, built those muscles. You've got that, so they can work to vet the investment and the risks around that.
No, that's great. The task force is always a great model. This is like a kind of like a startup initiative that every company has to deal with currently as we're trying to venture into this new territory. So those are great examples. So now that AI has been out for, well, like I said, two years-ish, right? Depending on how you're counting, of course, but more widely adopted. There's a lot of risks. We see a lot talking about data. There's legal. There's regulatory. We know our big government is chomping at the bit to get their claws into it. So would love to kind of hear from a few of you guys where we're at as far as mitigating those risks, and what frameworks we should be using to stay on top of it, especially in such a highly regulated industry like the one that we're in. Catherine, let me kick it over to you first on that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're a GSIFI, so everything we do is as well, it should be highly scrutinized and highly regulated. So for us, I thought it was really interesting what Jacqueline was saying, where we're in financial services, right? We love a good silo, and this is one of the few things that I think has actually been very well done as a united organization. But even there, I think there are kind of a little bit of fits and starts that we needed to look at. So, we've been using things like machine learning, natural language processing, and AI for a long time. Now that we've added this extra layer of generative AI, people started to get very excited. And we kind of look at it, at least the way my job is set up, I have to look at it from kind of 2 components, where one, we've said, all right, we've got this run by our chief architect. He's an absolutely brilliant man. His name is Aman. I highly recommend you watching any of his speaking engagements. He's absolutely brilliant. And we have everything kind of consolidated and concentrated under him. And we started looking at some co-pilots, some POCs, all of those types of things. And then we said, well, you know what, actually we need to hold, and we need to actually establish a responsible AI framework. We need to document what we are doing from, to your point, Tim, a risk, a legal, a cybersecurity, a data perspective. All of these pieces are incredibly important when we, again, as a GCIFI, are looking after 10% of the world's assets. We need to know where that data is going to be and how it's going to be used. The other side of the coin for me, from a marketing perspective, is to me, it's a little bit of ESG all over again, right? We've got people who are so excited, and bless them, like, all right, fine, I get it. This is something that we want to talk about. This is something our clients want to hear about. But we cannot just go out there with any sort of story around AI and just talk about something, that's going to be akin to greenwashing or AI washing. So we're really looking at it from those kind of two perspectives.
I'd like to
Yeah.
plus one that. I think
Sure.
I think we've all talked about how important governance is, and I think as part of your governance framework, it's really important for your company to define which use cases you'd like to play in when you talk about AI. And I'm glad you mentioned this. So there's generative AI, which is, I think, the GPT models and the ChatGPT that you've seen become more popular over the past few years. But we've used machine learning and natural language processing for many, many years. So I think your governance framework has to very clearly articulate the use cases, the general use cases in which you'd like to play with your AI. But also, I think it's really important to make sure that you've got your responsible AI considerations there as well. And so at Unum, we're very careful not to use AI to replace human interaction with our customers. And so we deal a lot with eligibility and claims processing, and we do not use AI as a replacement for our customer service representatives to talk with employees about eligibility and claims processing. We use it sort of as an accelerator to help our employees move along those process a little faster, but it's not end user, not customer facing.
Yeah, not a replacement.
Right, exactly.
Samantha, how about from your side?
Yeah, so for us, one of the frameworks we use is all around the data, right? Because that's going to be the input and the output. So we really look at three things. One is the data availability. So what are all the sources that we need? Are they accessible? We look at the data quality. I think that's very important before you engage in something particularly around inputs to generative AI. And then we look at the data stability, right? Because it is high quality, but how stable is that? How repeatable is it? And so that's really the data framework we look at in terms of security to make sure that your inputs are going to lead to quality outputs.
Yeah. And Matt, so from your side, obviously JP Morgan super concerned about security when managing all of the wealth that's going in and out of the platforms digitally, but also just dealing with customers, managing language, things like that. So from your side of this, what is staying on top of your mind when it comes to security and product development?
I think it's evolving almost as fast as the technology itself is evolving. I have a lot of empathy for our controls groups because there's such enthusiasm for the technology, and it's just captured the imagination of so many of our employees who are in the trenches doing the work day in, day out, and can see the opportunities to make their work easier or faster, or to deliver a better client experience using Gen AI. We obviously have very strong controls over all of this. Our controls process used to be 22 steps. We have it down to 9 steps now.
Wow.
And we're just continuing to work with them and to educate them as well. When I say I have empathy for them, our controls group found themselves flooded with hundreds and hundreds of use cases, certainly on the technology that they had zero training, zero framework, zero idea about. So it's been a really collaborative exercise to teach them and bring them up to speed on the opportunities as well as the risks of the technology, and then craft the right controls framework so that we don't strangle the innovation. I think this is it's an incredible opportunity for us to, I guess, tackle some of the big challenges that we've had around lack of automation, lack of governance on data. And so, it's obviously a fine balance, but we do want to leverage the enthusiasm of the employee population and to give them the opportunity to express that.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting part that you said there is that fine balance, right? We want to let our people go and innovate and utilize this technology to simplify our lives and ultimately make our products better. But we have to use caution, we have to tread lightly. So I think all of you guys kind of had some great examples there of how we can do that. Let's slide over into the idea of customer centricity, because I think as marketers, we're supposed to be naturally good at this, right? Our North Star should always be the customer experience, what the customer gets out of the product at the end of the day. They're our shining light at the end of the tunnel. But we do, like some of you guys were just talking about, can get kind of lost in the day-to-day, in the focusing on product and sometimes maybe putting that before people. Yeah. So Candace, I'll come to you first, because I know that this one was kind of close to your heart a little bit, and you were already kind of touching on it just a minute ago in one of your other responses. But when we're talking about either, like I said, focusing on the customer, figuring out how we do kind of a go-to-market with this stuff, how are you kind of aligning your team around that?
Yeah, so when we talk about focusing on the customer, I think it's really important to make sure that we are interacting with the customer, and that's a great way that we can use AI to interact with our customer, right? Obviously, you still want to have your direct customer touch points, but I think you can always leverage AI to talk with your customer. So I think that's really important. I think we shouldn't forget that. Like, there's no replacement for actually talking with your customers, finding a way to interact with your customers, whether it's through your product directly, which is what I typically recommend, or if it's a person-to-person. So I think just directly interacting with your customer is really important.
Yeah. John, how about from your side?
Well, there's a lot of aspects to that. If you're talking about, what Kansas was saying in terms of like, how are you servicing the customers? We have a lot of businesses that are in claims and disability claims and life insurance claims and things like this. And AI is a really powerful way to expedite the customer service process for the lower end kind of asks. Obviously you don't want to trust a machine to be empathetic dealing with someone's loss, but for things like updates and fundamental changes, it really can change the game from a customer service standpoint. Then if you move over into sort of my area in terms of like targeting and messaging, I mean, AI does an amazing job of breaking down core messages and versioning them to different audiences, right? Both from a copy perspective and from an imagery perspective.
That was a big point there. Somebody agrees with you.
So yeah, so what AI does a wonderful job from that standpoint is really amplifying and checking. Are you using the right phraseologies? We go into some markets that, quite frankly, I don't have certain expertise on my team, right? We partner with external agencies that have very specific areas of expertise in those markets. What we're able to do with AI is we're able to take that core messaging that was built by experts and then version it and again, we check it, right? But we're able to do it with significantly more speed and velocity, ensuring that it's appropriate for the audience and faster to market.
That's really cool. I like that. Again, to me, AI is all about speed, right? It's like a can of Red Bull for your marketing. When I have this keynote I do about AI effectiveness and efficiencies, and I'm like, it's all about just having that can of Red Bull, and it gives you wings, but we can't move too fast. And to some of the points that you guys have already said, it still needs that human touch, that human refinement, that human QC, kind of going back to the first question, right?
You can't. It's a story I tell that some people laugh about, but it's like, do we have parents in the audience? It's like AI is like a toddler, right? It's like they're amazing. It's like every day, look what he did, look what she did. It's amazing, phenomenal, wonderful, beautiful things. But if you turn your back on it for too long, like the dog's covered in peanut butter and there's fingerprints all over the windows and like the house is a mess. So it's like you got to make sure that the growth is happening while being checked,
I love the example of the toddler. That one, that's a perfect visualization, actually. So, Catherine, from your perspective, and knowing when to use this, right, while we're trying to, again, maintain that customer North Star, Tell us what you think.
Well, I think from our perspective, nothing is done, again, back to that silo comment, nothing is done on our own. Nothing is done in isolation.
Yeah.
So for us, very much, the co is on everything. It's a co-pilot that we're looking at. It's co-creation with our clients, which is how we're developing the different POCs that we're doing. So for us, it's very much about talking to the client, always putting the client at the kind of center of everything that we do, and then saying, all right, where are some of the different areas that you might benefit from us creating something? Where are some of the different areas that you might, see as being appropriate? And then what we'll do is we'll develop a POC, we'll develop a co-pilot, and then we very intentionally, depending on what it is, bring it to our different client advisory boards, and we will discuss it with that audience and say, all right, where are the concerns, where are the issues, and then we'll adjust accordingly.
I like the bringing it to the customer advisory board point. That's a cool one to write down maybe, guys, is that you're being super transparent then with your customers saying, hey, we are rolling out these new tools, we're trying these things, but we care about you first, and we're not trying to be sneaky maybe about using AI.
Yeah.
What do you think about how we did this? So I like that customer transparency.
It's important to be proactive about that
Yeah.
too, because they're going to come asking.
Yeah.
They're going to come
Yep.
asking.
And I will tell you, if you go and you implement this, like, you need to put the thickest skin on that you have, because it will crush your soul a little bit, some of the feedback that you'll get. But it's incredibly valuable, it's brilliant, and it's spot on, and that's why I love this, the concept of co-creation and the concept of these design workshops together, because the feedback is so spot on and so good.
Yeah, and if we go back to that point, just we call that human in the loop, like the idea that you don't always just send your AI recommendations or your AI directly to your customer. Sometimes there's a human in the loop before it goes to the customer. I think when you talk about like co-creating, I think it's really important with your customers, before you talk to your customers, to define like what that threshold, what that accuracy threshold is for your AI recommendations, and align with your customer on what that threshold might be, so that they feel confident in what the AI is generating for their benefit, and so that they understand where a human is engaged, and that they align with you on engaging a human at a certain point in your AI process journey.
Yeah. The when to switch over to
Right.
full human mode is important. I always joke about using an AI chatbot, right? I'm talking to whatever customer service agent on a chatbot on a website, and maybe I'm just not getting quite there. And you can tell, like, obviously we had chatbots before, now we have AI bots that are even better, and you could tell to a certain point, you're like, I don't think this is a real person. And if I'm typing agent 6 times, like, I should be getting to an agent, right? Flip the human switch over. How about over at Chartis, Samantha? What are you guys doing to kind of keep that customer ethos front and
Yeah,
center?
so the way we think about that is, for AI, we kind of see 3 core use case buckets that it does really well today. So one is around identification, one is around creation, and the third is around decision making. So what we want to do is work with our clients to say, well, what's the nature of your customer relationship, and which of those use cases is going to enhance it the most, right? If your relationship is built on convenience, then we might look at things around identification to do that quicker. If you're, as happens often in the financial space, the relationship is really based on trust. So we want to think about how can we enhance trust. And for one of our advisory clients, they were very excited about creation, right? Generative AI, everybody is. But we said that can be a little bit tougher, a little bit of a steeper learning curve. So we wanted to focus on that idea of identification, because you don't have to check all those boxes at once. So we started small. We have an AI partner called AnyClip, and what it does is it takes all of your video content and it can analyze it frame by frame, and it can understand both the visual context and also the audio context. And so what they use that for now with their marketing team, their sales team, even some of their advisory sessions, is to analyze their whole body of webinars, video content analysis, to get to the 5 minutes, the 2 minutes that are relevant, like that, right? Because nobody wants to watch an hour webinar. You guys probably don't want to watch us for 45 minutes for the 5 minutes that's relevant, when you can do that using AI. So that's really where we start thinking about how do we best enhance the core customer relationship.
How many people wish we had an AI bot that would just scan the entire conference for us and just give us, where's my Fathom note taker? Can we apply that to this session?
But you can, right?
Yeah.
You could upload all of this and say, well, I'm interested in these 3 topics, and you get those clips, which is really, it's small but very valuable.
Yeah, no, it is. I personally love that because it's creating those efficiencies just across the board, both in the way that you're doing things personally and managing your time, but then also professionally. So on your side, Matt, with JP Morgan, millions and millions of customers, all using different products and services, from having personal accounts to business accounts to everything that you guys have. There's a lot of perspectives that they probably have. So what are you guys doing to kind of build that into the product to be able to convey that, hey, we understand your unique needs and desires, and this is how we're kind of using AI to maintain that?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for us in asset management, we're in a B2B context.
Yeah.
I have 2 types of customers actually. We have our, our financial advisors, institutions, treasurers that we obviously engage on a regular basis. But we have a distribution channel that is both marketing led and sales led. And so a lot of the things we're looking at for AI right now is how do we deepen this relationship with our clients and generate the right interactions, and understand, using machine learning mostly, but also some of the techniques, to detect the right moment to pass on that lead to the salesperson and transfer this relationship really to the human. A lot of the things we're working on is also to try to, for these clients that do not have sales coverage, because we only cover a section of the client base. How may we actually provide this elevated level of service that you get from a salesperson around, our product knowledge, our insights on the economy, on the markets, the tools that we may make available to people for portfolio construction, and provide this experience to these people with that sales coverage through our digital channels. And I think it's a tremendous area of opportunity in the AI space. We're not replacing humans, right? It's just like somebody said earlier, the marketing teams are not growing, sales teams are not really growing either in our space. And so my focus when we look at AI is really on understanding how we provide this really elevated level of service to the entire client population here in the US as well as globally.
That segues into kind of our last question here, which I'm excited about. So that elevated level of service is what I'm thinking about, because there are certain levels of expectations, and so we can't let AI detract from that. We have to maintain it. And one of the things you also said was like the transfer of the relationship. So I thought that was interesting. In the example of agent. What does that transfer look like from utilizing something on the AI side from the customer's perspective, or having that transparency into the actual human relationship? So having a smooth transfer, it should be seamless, it should be easy for the customer, right? So really what we're trying to do is maintain high quality customer relationships, right? Building loyalty, trust, return business. Candace, how are we doing that? What is our way of doing that?
Well, I can't give away too many of our secrets.
Oh, come on, that's it. Guys, this is a secrets giveaway. That's what I'm
I will say, though, that behind the scenes, I think there's an opportunity for us to I think you mentioned this point earlier, just talking about the data behind the scenes, leveraging AI to make predictions based on the data that it sees about our customers, right? And so when we talk about things like retaining our customers, there are probably behaviors that we can, or patterns and behaviors that we can see in the data that might tell us whether or not our customers might stay with us or not, and why, and how long they might stay with us. So I think if we just step away from the customer-facing aspects of AI and just look at our data, use AI to look at our data, we can leverage that for customer retention. And I think another thing, we can leverage AI for recognizing anomalies in that data, right? Again, if we go back to the idea that there are certain patterns that tell us behaviors, if we can use AI to recognize those patterns, then we can also use AI to recognize when those patterns are off, right? And so when there are anomalies there, that might give us some insights into what's happening with our customers.
Wow, that's interesting. So the data piece of it is key to you're framing it to ultimately build customer success.
Right.
Samantha, how about from your side?
Yeah, so for us, I think the biggest thing in ensuring the high quality of the customer service is around transparency.
Yeah.
So if you are doing anything that is customer facing with AI, flagging that, right? So we're working with NASDAQ at the moment on a globalization strategy, and AI is a part of that, and making that very apparent to the customer when what they're seeing has been, in this case, translated by AI. Because and giving the customer the opportunity to feedback, to say, okay, great, you've been transparent about that, and I like it or I don't like it, because that's also useful learning for the company and going forward with what they invest in terms of AI.
And the transparency kind of goes back to that trust element, right?
Absolutely.
When you're transparent, it's going to build trust with your customer. Because, I mean, if we pulled this room right now, people are going to be like, I don't know how much I trust these AI tools, right? So it in general, and then going, hey, I'm supposed to maintain, or I'm supposed to trust the agency, the company that I'm working with, and now you're using these tools. Oh my gosh, right? So a lot of red flags. Catherine, I see you might have a thought around that.
Well, it's interesting. I go back to something that you said earlier about this, being very much an ethos, right? And I think a lot of it is how are you thinking about it as a company, right? There's this fantastic story, and we talk about it a lot. Back in the, I don't know, it's probably the 70s. You can Google this, right? It's Scientific American. They did this really interesting study, right? They're like, we want to see who or what the fastest creature on Earth is. So they did the study, a bunch of intelligent scientists got together, they did the study, and it was like a falcon that won. And they're like, well, wait just a minute, like, we're humans and we're running the study, so we're gonna give the man who was jogging another chance. We're gonna do this again, very scientific. And they gave him a bicycle, and lo and behold, he won. He beat the falcon on the bicycle. So this is, I know it's a bit of an odd story, but it's very much reflective of how we're looking at AI. It's a tool. It's a bicycle for the mind. It is not a replacement of the mind. For us, the core, we're in marketing, we'll say tagline, the core tagline that we always use, thank you, is artificial intelligence backed by real intelligence. It's a tool, not a replacement. And I think it's that ethos that it starts to worry me a little bit, I'll be honest, especially in such a highly regulated industry in financial services, if that ethos is not the cornerstone of how you are building a lot of these new tools.
It boils down to your mindset and how you see it internally, how you're servicing customers, but then also how we kind of educate and train customers. And as buyers within everything we do personally, we kind of have to have that framework too. We have to understand, hey guys, this isn't the end all be all. This is ultimately built by, maintained by, and collaborated with human minds. This is a concept of collaborative intelligence of humans making the machines better, the machines making the humans better, and around and around and around we go. And hopefully it spins up rather than spins down. Yeah. What do you think, John?
No, it's great. I actually just finished a book on Ethan Mollick, co-intelligence, which follows the same kind of pattern. And it sort of looks at how is AI impacting all different aspects, of the world, but also into marketing. But you're right. It's an aid, right? It's an accelerant. But someone, I've stolen this so many times, I really should remember who I stole it from, and people do remember it, but in my business, in the creative field and in advertising, there's a lot of fear. Oh my God, AI is going to put us all out of work. And the statement that goes with that, which I fully agree with, is AI won't take your job, but another marketer who knows AI will take your job, right? Yeah. So that's what it comes down to, right? We're in an evolution, and as a marketer, almost as a professional in anything, but we're in marketing, so let's stay here. You have to know it. Yeah. You have to know it. It's table stakes, and if you're not going to know it, you're not going to learn it, you're not going to adopt it, and be in front of some of these trends.
Yeah.
you might as well get your resume ready, because it's, it's a fundamental tool at this point.
Yeah. Read all the books. That was a great one.
We just
Read
had
them all.
we just had a conversation with disclosure language, like what disclosure language to put if whatever, and it was and obviously the lawyers come and they said, well, if it's a print piece and you use it, use this, and a print piece and you don't use this paragraph, and it's pages and pages and pages, and finally I said, hey guys, it's almost 2025. Can't we just assume that we're kind of using it everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can't we just automatically put a disclosure that says, AI was used in the creation of this material, but a representative of Prudential has checked it and verified it? And they were like, yeah, I guess we could. I'm like, yeah, well, this is the world we're in now, right? It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
It's your citation.
Yeah.
Got it
Yeah.
at the bottom. Did you have a thought, Kansas?
I'm just plus oneing what you just said. Yeah, I totally agree. It's almost like AI may have been used to generate this, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
it is the expectation, and I think to your point, we've all said this, AI is not going to take our jobs directly. I mean, it was, when Microsoft Excel came out, and when Microsoft Word came out, people were probably like, oh, we're not going to need finance folks, accounting anymore.
Yeah.
No, finance and accounting had to learn how to use Microsoft Excel, and I think it's going to be the same with GPTs and AI in general. You have to know how to use it to enhance your job, enhance your work, and streamline your success. Yeah.
Yeah, and to John, what you were saying, this is the evolution. It's just the latest form of mechanization
Yeah.
in the world. Yes, it's a very interesting one, very intricate one, in the fact that it is quote unquote intelligence, quote unquote, but it is just the latest phase. And one of the stories I tell in this presentation that I give about AI is I start with the story about the ATM. When it debuted in 1962 in London at Barclays Bank, everyone lost their minds. They're like, this is going to take bank teller jobs, and why would we ever put a machine on the exterior wall of the bank that dispenses cash? Are you mad? And, well, none of those things actually happened. Bank teller jobs actually grew at a faster rate because their job became more human-focused.
Yeah.
Right? Their job was now to interact and build loyalty and trust and empathy and actually long-term relationships with the customer. They didn't have to sit there and dispense cash and deposit checks as much because the machine was doing that. So it augmented, it created a space for them to be more customer-centric.
Did you use the word magicization?
No.
Oh, I thought-
Mechanization.
Yeah, I
Oh,
like that.
mechanization.
I like
I was
the
like,
word.
wow, I like that. I like, just
Mechanization.
conjured that
I
thing
mean,
out.
we
That
could,
was cool.
sure, I said magicization, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
No, mechanization, so like
Perfect.
making something mechanical.
Yeah, sure.
more
Yeah.
Mechanical over time. No, those are really interesting. Matt, what do you think kind of on that side of building the trust, the loyalty, using it as that tool? Is that the kind of perspective that you guys have as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to the points that were just made, and the very salient point around Excel, it's all about productivity, right? And productivity is a good thing. It grows the economy, and it does create new jobs. There will be new losers and winners brought about by AI, but I think if you look at all the various technological revolutions that we've seen over the last 100 years, I would say, they've usually been accretive to the economy and to the jobs market. So there's always concern, and I think we need to very gingerly walk into this new world. It is a very different type of technology, and it has very specific risks associated with it. But the upside is potentially tremendous. So I think this is what we try to focus on at that level.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we have a few minutes left. I do want to turn it over for questions from the audience. You guys can ask anybody on the panel. Oh, we got a bunch of hands up. All right, we got one over here to start.
Hi, everyone. First of all, extremely insightful panel. I'm Harris. I'm from Code and Theory. We've been enabling AI solutions for the last 10 plus years. Open question to any of you. I'm curious, ultimately, what is your dream use case for AI, and what steps are you taking to start to put that into action?
I can go.
Okay.
So I'm a bit of a user interface buff, right? And I'm sure everybody on this panel has spent tens of millions of dollars building digital experiences for clients. And despite all of these efforts, I'm just going to say it, it's still kind of difficult to use the experiences that we make available to them. You still have to peck around for content or hunt for data and transfer things from one place to another. I think the conversational interface that is enabled now by AI, the fact that the machine can understand your words, you don't have to learn anything, is probably the most exciting thing that is going to come about. We do design thinking and workshops and we have personas, but these personas are still really rough. As granular as you want to make them, every person has a different need when they come and interface with you. And I think from my perspective at least, the fact that we would be able to interface with our content and our tools and our products and everything else that we make available through digital channels, but the onus is on the user to tell us what they want, and we can respond and hyper-personalize almost that client journey, I think is one of the greatest opportunities that I've seen in my career. So super excited about that. This is something that we're actively working on. Very challenging, obviously. The human in the middle, we've talked about it a lot. Once you remove that barrier, you have to be extremely confident in the guardrails that you've put in place. And the testing that needs to be done, both by humans and by AI itself, right? AI can actually be very useful as well in checking its own work, and I think people shouldn't forget that. So yeah, that would be my answer. And yeah, probably the most exciting thing from my perspective. We went from anytime you remove friction in the ability of a human to interface with technology, and you've seen those, right? From mainframes to the graphical user interface, to the smartphone, and now with AI, every single time that has democratized access to technology for the population, a few hundred people in the world could use mainframes, and now we have 6 billion users of smartphones in the world that are using the internet every single day. And I think this is just a continuation of that evolution.
Great. Going back here.
Hi, my name is Ashley Allman. I'm with Financial Independence Group. I was just wondering, how are you building in your plans, or are you concerned about the environmental impacts of AI? I've read that every time you use ChatGPT, you're essentially pouring out a bottle of water because these servers are using so much energy. I was just wondering if one of you could speak on that.
I'll take a shot at speaking on that. I think that goes back to some of the governance conversations we're having around how to use AI, not just from an experience perspective, but also from an infrastructure perspective. So making sure we've got, I'm a technologist. I'm not necessarily a marketer, so I won't go too geeky on you, but I will say, if you think about things like RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, and caching your data so that you're not using so many, I forgot what they're called, points or something in the GPT world, so that you're not using so many points. I think that can help. But it all goes back to making sure you have a well-defined architecture, well-defined infrastructure, and that you've got governance around how you're using AI.
We have another, we found over here.
Oh, yes.
We have one
Hi.
in front.
Maria Morad is most recently from Mass Mutual. I have a question. I'll start with a short comment. It feels, I know we're all very bullish on AI, and it feels a little bit like when mobile apps first came up, like everybody wanted to have an app. And there's a continuum. Now we know some people need apps. Everybody needs to have responsive design. So how do you? So it's like, what is that tipping point that you know you need it, and how do you know that's a good use case? Like, do you put too much in it to get enough out of it? Like, is there a framework around that?
I'll take that. We're in a business. What's the business case, right? We have to be careful that AI is the shiny penny right now. Apps were the shiny penny. What's the shiny penny, right? In the creative field, we're pummeled with this all the time. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. But should you do it, and is it tied to a business case? Everything we do needs to be tied to a business case. So yes, it's exciting. I think you've heard, yes, it's exciting. Yes, it accelerates. Yes, it makes people more productive. But what's the business case? You have to ultimately tie it to, what are you trying to do as a business? What are you trying to deliver? And if AI syncs with that, yes, go. But if it doesn't quite yet, then you have to wait. You have to wait until your business needs a case for it. Because we're all in business to make money of some sort. So it has to be anchored back.
But the other thing I would add to that, I think, is going back to that idea of, mobile apps or responsive web. Not everybody has to build their own AI tool. There are plenty of vendors who are out there doing that. So you can kind of test the waters there quite quickly, which is one of the things we recommend, right? Start small, learn, scale. So you don't have to take on building a whole mobile app, investing in your own LLM, if anybody would take on such a crazy thing. There are people who build on top that you can kind of find out very quickly, is there value in this for our business or not?
And I think, real quick, I think also you have to make sure that you've got your KPIs and your metrics defined so you can recognize when it's not working, when it's working, when it's not working, and knowing how to pivot at that point.
And one more quick one.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm from First Citizens Bank. I was just wondering, how would one go about learning AI, and maybe what are the first steps in order to become more proficient in AI?
Step one, this panel. Step
Yeah.
two,
I think it depends on what you're trying to learn with AI. I think, it's become so popular, there are significant resources around. My firm happens to be a member of the ANA, the Association of National Advertisers. They have a wealth of really good training courses. There's a lot of really good programs that are coming out, but I think, again, you have to define what are you trying to learn. There's a lot of different expertise and focus on this panel about how we're all applying AI in very different ways. So I think you have to first identify what are you trying to accomplish with it, and then there are just myriad courses online and available, and most at no fee almost.
And find the people at your company who are doing this, right? As I mentioned earlier, our chief architect, this man is amazing, and I kind of latched myself onto him, perhaps much to his chagrin. And he's very, very kind and very amenable to teaching me and telling me, and he's actually now become my mentor, which is so lovely. So I would definitely seek out the people at the company who are starting to do this. And the other thing I would say is it is incumbent on everyone in this room. We're in financial services. We have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility in many instances, to ensure that we are taking the right steps to educate our downstream audiences and educate our clients and our boards and other, we have a lot of mutual fund boards, for example, that we deal with. We have to know it as marketers because we have to help educate the broader audiences.
yeah. Well, that's great. So let's give your panel a round of applause. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. Fantastic. So we're going to be sliding into the first break of the morning. So I would encourage you all to get out of this room, stretch your legs, head over into the expo area, visit the sponsors. Don't forget, get your badges scanned so that way you can win that coveted gift card coming up at lunch. And we'll see you guys in the other room.